What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. And today I am here with a recap of One Championship's first ever Prime video card, headlined by the GOAT Demetrious Johnson in his rematch with Adriano Moraes. And what a card. What a card, I must say it. Now, if anyone watched my recap of the One Championship 160 card, you know, I was happy with that. It was on at 1:30 in the day. It was over on my time here in Ireland, which never happens. It was over by like 4 o'clock. It was great. You know, and what do you know what I said? I said, do you know what? I'll have an early night now. Woke up. I actually woke up and started watching the card, I think just about as it was ending. And I'm recording this very early in the morning Irish time. So, you know, it's out basically like right after the card or finished right after the card. And waking up to watch these fights and the start of the card, the way it started off with that big knockout in the Kadestam fight, unbelievable. Just an unbelievable way to wake up in the morning and to watch fights. But I like to normally go through the card and tell you everything that happened, but I have to start at the main event here. It was unbelievable. And now, you know, my betting picks this week, I gave 5 bets. 2 of them are right, and 2 of them, one of them was a robbery, which we'll get to later on, and another one was almost right, because Adriano Moraes was running this fight for long periods, especially early. But Demetrious Johnson, the way he came back was just phenomenal. Like, this was one of my favourite fights of the year, I'll be honest, because it had it all. Like, it had the guy who won the first fight, showing that it kind of wasn't a fluke. You know, he performed a different sort of fight, but some would say an even better sort of performance in this fight, where he was dominating early. It showed a kind of the old dog being able to come back, even though he's only like 2 years or 18 months or something older than Moraes. But you get me, like the guy who's kind of had the longer road, one of the longest roads in MMA history. You know, one of the greatest champion in my opinion in MMA history, and that's why he's up on the wall there behind me, if you could see it. And the comeback, the pulling it out of the fire, and the knockout, it was sublime. It was one of those fights, right, where it reminded me of, like, I know some people are saying it, like, MMA can't have fights like boxing matches where there's like ebbs and flows and, you know, knockdowns and comebacks. And this is the sort of fight that proved that's wrong, because this fight had it all. It had, you know, the Moraes domination early, but DJ having the cut, then Moraes coming back, then DJ kind of weathering the storm a little bit, and then Moraes slowing down a bit, Moraes coming back a little bit then in the fourth at the start of it, and then DJ, and obviously the big finish as well. It had ebbs and flows like a world championship boxing match, but with better skill and a more fun, better sport, a more entertaining sport. I love this fight. I really, really do. Now, I have a soft spot for Demetrious Johnson, don't get me wrong, but to win this fight was unbelievable. It was one of those fights that, like, a lot of people, if they don't know Adriano Moraes, or if they've like spent years just denigrating Demetrious Johnson's achievements and saying, oh, he fought a load of Chris Carriassos for 10 years and people are calling him the GOAT. It's like, just come on. If you know anything about Cejudo, Joseph Benavidez, Kyoji Horiguchi, and others, the level of guys he was beating was actually way, 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 way higher than people like to let on, or people try to say. He beat some really, really good guys. And he had the greatest, and I don't think he has anymore, to be honest. I think he definitely has slowed down a little bit, but he had the greatest skill set of all time, but he's still really, really good. And what this fight showed to me was that he has not only the heart and not only the skills, but the intelligence as well. Now, I always knew he was intelligent, but the way he won this fight and the way he spoke about it afterwards and kind of saying that this was the plan, this is almost how he expected to win the fight, was so smart. Because I was thinking about it, and the reason I gave Moraes as one of my picks was, and no, not that I'm some genius or anything, but I couldn't think of a way that Demetrious Johnson won this fight apart from, like, you know, a big knockout or a big submission or something like that was, you know, not necessarily lucky, but came out of nowhere. This didn't come out of nowhere. You know, at the part of the fight that it came, he was winning the fight for probably like maybe 9 of the previous 10 minutes or something like that. And I'll run through the fight here in a second. But I remember I talked to, I don't know if a lot of people remember Patrick Wyman, who was a great analyst. I think he did a bit of work for Sherdog back in the day, but he did a lot of work for different places, and he's now, he's gone out of MMA, but he's a historian. I remember talking to him after the McGregor versus Diaz fight. I remember he said to me, it's like, this is a really tough matchup for McGregor, you know, a bigger, taller guy who's really good in the areas, you know, which McGregor is good in, and he won't get knocked out and stuff like that. And if McGregor goes and wins that fight, he's up there with one of the greatest fighters of all time, because to have such a turnaround, it's massive. And he did do it, and, you know, a lot of people will denigrate that win as well, just like this one. And the reason I say that is, I think this was a similar sort of thing. It's one of the ones that'll probably be underappreciated. You know, if people look back at Demetrious Johnson's career at the end of it, they'll say, oh yeah, okay, he regained the title against Moraes, but they'll probably say, oh, you know, Moraes, a good fighter in one championship or something. But Moraes is a good fighter wherever. You know, he is a really, really, really good fighter. And I think this is a sort of win that should be up there with the Cejudo, Benavidez, etc. wins in Demetrious Johnson's career, just because it's at 135 as well, basically. And, like, I saw Josh Gross tweeting, Moraes it looks like a 155er in there, not a flyweight, you know? So Demetrious he's not a big flyweight, and the fact that this is 135, you know, with the hydration and all that one championship have, it just all added together, it makes it so much better. He, you know, at this stage of his career, against a guy with such speed, with such ability, with a massive size difference on him, it was just absolutely brilliant. And I can't say enough about it. And if you're looking for the context of the fight and the reality around the fight, I think that's it. You know, he beat a guy that had so many advantages over him. It's mesmeric. It's mesmeric, honestly, that he won this fight. And maybe people are listening to this and go, what are you talking about? But if you listen to myself and Ian on the preview show, you know, we said that beforehand. It's like, Jesus, this is a tough fight for Demetrious. And he pulled it out of the bag. But let me just run through the fight, I suppose. In round one, Demetrious started and he was switching stances. He was landing more than Moraes, but Moraes was landing kind of clearly the harder stuff. Ended up getting a takedown. DJ looked to set up a triangle, but it was just no good. Moraes was on top, landed a couple of elbows, but didn't do much. But as the round went on, he landed more and more and more. And Demetrious, though, landed that big elbow and a big cut, which I mentioned at the start, which was kind of not necessarily a turning point in the round, but kind of like, oh, Moraes is winning. Oh, is he winning? And then Demetrious lands that, and then Moraes kind of finishes out the round and probably ends up taking, now, as we know, one championship not scored round by round, but you'll get me, I'll go through the rounds like that. So a Moraes round with a little bit of Demetrious added in there, a bit of cut with a bit of blood as well. The cut team, I was thinking between rounds, is like they haven't put any Vaseline on him. And they had the inswell, which is something you don't normally see. You know, obviously you get the inswell first. Maybe they forgot the Vaseline, because they did put the Vaseline on after the next round. But I was like, oh, that's going to bleed. But it didn't, in fairness. So the cut team did a good job. There was a big right hand at the start of round 2 by Moraes. DJ was badly wobbled in with a head kick. After that, almost finished. This was so close to the fight being finished. Grounded knees after DJ went for a double leg, but DJ survived. He ended up on bottom, but he got to the end of the round, eating a good bit of shots. So I can't emphasize how close that was to finishing the fight. It was almost over there. The down knees again almost cost Demetrious, because going for that double leg, you're like, right, I'm going to survive here after the big head kick. I'm just going to take my time. And then the knees came, and it's almost like, you know, we said it after the initial fight. It's like Demetrious hasn't spent a lifetime training those knees, and when you get rocked like he did in this round and like he did in the first fight, you put yourself in a position where, okay, I'm going to find safety here, but you're not finding safety when those knees are behind it, you know, which is a very, very tough thing to do. And you almost can't train yourself to do that after a lifetime of training yourself not to do it, if you get me. So or the other way around. So Demetrious put himself in that position, but he did survive, and he got to round 3. In round 3, I thought Moraes was noticeably slower. Now, not to go full Joe Rogan here or anything, but I didn't think he was slower. DJ was picking him off on the outside. That left hook from the orthodox stance, and then the jab in the southpaw stance was just brilliant from Demetrious, and he was winning that round because of it. He landed a nice elbow against the cage. There was knees in the clinch from DJ. All the DJ. Actually, Moraes landed the elbow against the cage, sorry. That was the only thing he really did in that round, but not a big one. I think Demetrious won that round pretty comfortably, if we were scoring the rounds that way. Very slow first 2 minutes in round 4, and I think Moraes kind of did that on purpose, pushed him against the cage, lots of clinching, even held Demetrious against the cage. DJ landed, I think actually might have been in the round before, but he landed lovely knees in the clinch at one stage. And just to kind of keep scoring, and was really, really good. But in the fourth, Moraes, was the one that was maybe not, he didn't start it, but he kind of kept it there, I think, for a lot. There was one Moraes shot, then DJ landed an elbow, not much really scoring at all. But when they kind of got back out, DJ was the one that kind of walked forward a bit, because Moraes landed this lovely lead elbow, and DJ kind of walked through it. And I think at that stage, that was a turning of the fight for me. Because DJ was like, right, he's hit me now with his best shot 3 or 4 times. I know I can eat it. Let's go. And that's exactly what he did. And he came forward. He landed a massive right hand. Moraes, the tiredness with the power of the shot as well played into it, knocked him down hard. And the knee, which wasn't a grounded knee. If that happened in the UFC, it'd be legal. This would be a legal knockout in the UFC. He was not grounded. He was on his feet. Demetrious knocked him out. And if you watch the replay again, Demetrious hit him. So Demetrious throws the knee. He's like this. He just turns straight around and walks off. He didn't look at him. I don't know how he knew he was knocked out. It was the quintessential walk-off knockout in mixed martial arts, because he literally could not see him. He might not have been knocked out. I don't know how Demetrious knew. Maybe he just, because it didn't look, the way it connected, it didn't look like one of those that kind of clunks and you know it. But obviously it was, and he did know it, and it was a beautiful finish. And absolutely, it was mesmeric stuff. Like, it was a fight as well that if Demetrious had kept winning it the way he was winning it in the third and fourth, Moraes probably would have won the round, or would have won the fight, because he had almost finished DJ more than DJ had almost finished him, and that's the way one championship is scored. If it had been a UFC fight, it would have been 2-2 going into the fifth probably. Obviously, this was close to the end of the fourth round, and if Demetrious had won the fifth, it would have been a 3-2 win for Demetrious. Maybe a 10-8 in there, so maybe you could say a draw, but I'm not sure. I wasn't scoring it that way, so I'd have to go back and watch it. But it was a close fight, which, and the one championship scoring system, Moraes probably would have won. But the DJ was obviously coming back in and could have, even if it had gone to the fifth round and he'd landed a couple of knockdowns or something like that, he could have won it too. So it wasn't by any means a Moraes fight 100%. But at the end of the day, DJ just, he planned this. He absolutely planned to fight and to win the fight the way he did, because he said it afterwards. He was like, I spent my time in the gym having to walk through, lads, having to eat a lot of shots, and I knew I'd have to do that here to do what I wanted to do, and he was right. They said in the commentary about Moraes fighting at a higher pace, and I don't necessarily think he was fighting at a higher pace. I think actually it was DJ that was fighting at a more forward going pace, with a lot of different things and it was, he's switch of stances was giving Moraes more opportunities to land shots at times, and Moraes was throwing probably at a higher output in this fight than he did in the last fight, and I think that's what kind of they were seeing more than the higher pace from Moraes. There was kind of more openings for Moraes. So Demetrious kind of prayed and played on that, because him pushing the pace on Moraes made him tired, and him allowing Moraes maybe more openings to throw shots made Moraes more tired too. And by the time it came to the third round, he looked very tired. But by the time it came to the fourth round, he needed to rest and clinch for a long time, which gave Demetrious a bit of a rest too. And when they both got back up, there was only one guy who was fresher. And it felt like Moraes, that lead elbow that he landed, was kind of one of those like clubbing, front elbows, straight elbows almost. it felt like, maybe it didn't feel it at the time, but now thinking back, it felt like his last shot, you know, and Demetrious just came through and got the finishing. Fantastic. I think straight away make the trilogy, because you have one knockout versus another knockout. You have a guy winning the first fight in Moraes, and he was winning this fight until Demetrious came back. I think, you know, one of those prime cards, what month have we now? Starting maybe first card in next year, maybe January next year or something like that in America. And Chatri was talking about coming to America. I think that'd make a lot of sense. January, February in America. Demetrious versus Moraes 3. Knockout. Let's see who wins the third one. It'll be absolutely fantastic. Right, let's run through the rest of the card and what a card it was. The one criticism I would have for this card, and it's not a massive criticism at all, I think there was maybe a little bit too much Muay Thai. I think if you're an MMA organization that has a bit of everything, this felt like, at times it felt like a Muay Thai card with a bit of MMA thrown in. No, it wasn't that, and that's a bit harsh, but I think, look, I said it yesterday on the other card, I liked the submission grappling and a bit of Muay Thai thrown in. I think at most there should be 3 other fights. So have maybe 2 MMA fights, a grappling match, 2 MMA fights, Muay Thai, 2 MMA fights, Muay Thai, and then 2 more MMA fights to finish it out or something like that. I think that'd be good. You know, do something like that. But having 3 or 4 in the middle of it and a few together as well, I just think it kind of, it makes it drag a little bit. But it's a minor criticism really, and you know, for someone who is not maybe the biggest Muay Thai fan in the world, I'm sure other people will like it as well. But I do like the fact that they do add it in and make it a little bit different. As you know, the one thing as well, watching this, it is very different from the UFC, and I think PFL do a good job of that. I think Bellator at times do a good job of that, and I think One Championship are doing a good job of it now as well. For years we had everyone was trying to be the same as the UFC, and I think people realize people don't want to be like the UFC. Even the Hirata fight, where she walked out to the real Slim Shady and she had her flag, and I remember thinking, it's like, do you know what, they probably wouldn't, first of all, because I was listening to the song, I was like, oh Jesus, there's a few lyrics in that probably wouldn't be allowed on the UFC, which are like, they probably wouldn't allow her to have the song, and then they wouldn't, you know, they're not allowed to have flags now either. And you know, we saw it as well, One Championship announced people like representing Iran or representing Ireland or whoever it might be, and that's a little bit different, and I like that as well. I do like it. That difference is good, and I hope they keep that, and they don't try to be cookie cutter or try to be like the UFC. I think one, and they should keep being like that. So that was very good. This card started with one of the knockouts of the year with Kadestam, just an unbelievable KO. Zebaztian Kadestam against Iuri Lapicus, 50 seconds, 57 seconds in this. I sound like tongue 7 seconds away. Do you know that song? Anyway, but it was Lapicus that came out and he got a takedown immediately after the Kadestam flying knee, but it got straight back up. Massive uppercut in by Kadestam, and that was basically it. Kadestam said afterwards, and this was very intelligent, that like he kept seeing he was open down through the middle and he was dipping his head. And I think it was more the open through the middle rather than the dip in his head part, because he dipped his head into the uppercut, whereas the uppercut would have landed, I don't think, if he'd even dipped his head, but it was head dipping, meeting uppercut at the same time and perfectly timed, and there was no walking through that. He looked like he broke his wrist or broke his hand or something as well. He threw such a hard shot. And then he called out Roberto Soldic, which we will get to in a few minutes. But Kadestam, the former champion, obviously very, very impressive stuff there. Then we had Heqin against Itsuki Hirata. And to me, I didn't like the score in this fight. Now, I'll run through the fight here. As I said, Hirata walked out the real Slim Shady. That was great. But Heqin dominated the fight from the very start. Leg kicks early, winning from range, lovely jab. Hirata got a takedown from a kick, but immediately got back up. Leg clinch in round 1 from Hirata, but no good. Heqin dominated that round. Round 2, it was even more controlled. Cage work from Heqin. Just threw her leg kicks, throwing her jab. There was a late straight armbar at him from Hirata. which brought it back a bit. But I thought the commentary were saying, "Oh, this was a close finish." And Rich Franklin, which Rich was actually great throughout the whole night. I think he was the voice of reason here, and he said it wasn't a near finish, which I agree with. I don't think it was, which scores very highly. So if you look at that, like Heqin is miles ahead there. She won 2 rounds. She damaged her a lot. That leg was absolutely ate up. And in the third round, then Heqin was winning from range again. Hirata tried a takedown in the middle of the cage. She got a clinch and a brief takedown, but then there was a clinch from Heqin, and she got a takedown of her own / kind of thrown, but ended up on top. Got back up for the last minute. And then Hirata landed a massive, almost KO, right hand right down the middle. But Heqin survived. Now, you look at that, right, and you think if that was scored round by round, there's no doubt about it, it would have been 2-1 with, and even maybe 3-0. But probably 2-1 because you score and I would love the fact if that was a round or scored round by round and the third round was scored to Hirata. I would love that because that's the way it should be scored. She landed the most immediately impactful shot. What I don't like is so what I like is 4 minutes 30 seconds of someone kind of just winning and in a massive blow and then they lose round. I like that. That's how MMA should be scored. 14 and a half minutes being outweighed by 1 shot is too much for me. That's not good, I don't think. And that is the drawback. You want the drawback of scoring the fight as a whole. This is a perfect example. I didn't like this decision at all. I think Hirata was clearly the better fighter throughout it. There was one great shot which she survived. And half a straight arm. You know, straight arm bars in modern mixed martial arts. Come on, let's be honest here. That wasn't a near finish. Rich Franklin called it very, very well. I don't like this decision. I don't like it at all. And I think Heqin won the fight. I think they should do a rematch. I really do. So, but Hirata won. Great comeback. Look, there's no doubt about it. A great comeback. But I think Heqin was robbed. I'll be honest. Then we did a few Muay Thai fights. Kitchen versus Martin. DeAndre Martin won the second and third, ended up getting the decision there. There was a massive KO by Superlek against Goncalves with an elbow following a heavy knockdown. So, very good win there. Then we had Mauro Cerilli versus Aliakbari. Very good performance, I thought, from Aliakbari here. Cerilli tried to stay on the outside early, but immediately gave up on that. It was weird. He felt like he had this game plan to stay on the outside, and then Aliakbari kind of wasn't following him there. And he's like, right, come on. And then just like walk into range, kick the leg well, but was immediately getting countered. And I think Aliakbari, I watched a good few of his fights, and I think he showed better striking in this fight than he'd showed any before. Now, he has showed power and stuff, but he showed good striking here, got to the clinch. He got a takedown in a few moments later from a kick. Very good stuff from Ali, made him carry his weight. You know, the wrestling background did really, really well. He then got a kind of a drop suplex for the back, ground and pound force Cerilli to his back, side control from Aliakbari then towards the end of the round, crucifix and a lot of elbows, and Herb let it go. There was like 30 seconds left, and you know they announced 30 seconds to go, and Herb heard that, I think, and kind of let it go, but it only got worse. Cerilli, in fairness, he did come back at the start of the second. He knocked out Aliakbari's mouthpiece with a left hook, and the fact that they kind of stopped the fight to put it back in, I think, probably helped Ali a little bit. He got tired, but he got a big single leg, and I think that very much changed the fight. Got into half guard, ground and pound for ages. Then got it wasn't a full crucifix, it was like a semi crucifix, but it was so heavy on top it was enough. Loads of elbows, and Herb Dean stopped it. So a very good performance. I even thought, I didn't mention it much there, but I thought Aliakbari was actually good on the feet at the start of the fight as well. He was landing some nice shots, and he was almost, I thought he was, in his last couple of fights, he was a bit slower, but he seemed to have regained his speed. Maybe it was an injury or something. And he looked, relatively fast here for a big guy, and a very good performance from him. Then we had Buchecha, and what a performance. A calf kick knockdown, start off the fight. Waited, double leg. Ended up on bottom, attacked the leg, and he got tapped he didn't get tapped. He tapped Grishenko in seconds. It felt like, you know, if you're a layperson like me, it's like, oh, that's not really on. And like, oh wait, no, hold on, he tapped. And I think it only has to be half on when you have someone like Buchecha on your legs. Cut an almighty promo then afterwards. I think his friend did pass away, I think, and he said for the last 3 weeks I didn't want to fight and all. They asked him like, who do you want next? And he's like, I don't care. And it was very, very sad, obviously, but still beautiful. And I think he probably made himself a few fans the way he acted with such class and dignity and all that. So really, really good stuff. Great performance from Buchecha, but the way he spoke afterwards was really, really good as well. And definitely a guy to watch out for. What is he, 4-0 now? His career. Let me just check here on Sherdog.com. I hear it's a very good website for checking things like that. Yeah, 4-0 now, 3 submissions, 1 knockout. So really good stuff from Buchecha. There was another Muay Thai fight in, or a couple of Muay Thai fights even. Panpaka versus Michael. The lead right hook to the head kick at the start of round 2 got the finish there for Panpaka. Then they brought out Roberto Soldic actually for an interview, and he accepted the Kadestam challenge from earlier, and that'd be a good fight. So I'm like that. I like that. Let's do it. He also said he wants to fight a bit of kickboxing and Muay Thai, so that'd be fun as well. So then we had Harrison versus Nango, and that was a leg kicks KO for Nango. Just literally just kicked the leg off him. Harrison got knocked down, and he was like, "Nah, I can't do this anymore." He was already hurt badly. So that ended that there. So yeah, that was the card in full. And then we had Demetrious obviously in the main event against Moraes. An excellent card, you know, some good Muay Thai finishes. As I said, a little bit too much Muay Thai. The fact there was 2 Muay Thai fights before the main event as well, I thought that was, you know, give us like 3 MMA fights to finish it off or something like that, you know. But that's just a slight issue anyway. But the main event, absolutely fantastic. The first fight, massive knockout. You had Buchecha, the up and coming guy, brilliant. The Heqin Hirata fight, I think they need to make the rematch of that. And Aliakbari probably climbing his way towards, the top as well. What about Aliakbari versus Buchecha? Ooh, that'd be interesting. Let's do that. I could see him putting Buchecha in there with Cerilli maybe, but that'd be a tough fight for him. Be a good test, but we will see plenty of options anyway, and plenty to look forward to. I think they have another card in around a month, 2 cards actually at the end of next month. So lots to talk about and lots to come up in that time as well. All right, everyone, I will leave it there. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.